Hi, welcome to The Inner Way. I'm your host, Father David Smith. We're going to continue our study of unseen warfare, which has been wonderful, I hope, for you as it has been for me. We're going into chapter 29 today. Chapter 29 is unusual. It's very short. And it really introduces the 5 chapters that follow it. So we'll get into chapter 29, but we're going to look at only 2 of the points that the author makes, and then we'll actually go to those chapters. So we're going to kind of look at three chapters today, and then next week we'll look. We'll go as far as we can next week, but you'll see what I'm talking about as I go. So chapter 29, the title is The Order of Battle Pursued by the Devil in Spiritual Warfare Against Us All, and How He Seduces People of Different Inner States. So, I told you last week that we were looking at things like the imagination, attacks from the outside, and things like that, and how we were to do our best to, put them under our watchful eye and use them as a way to develop in our relationship with God. But the thing that he doesn't talk very much about, or didn't talk very much in the previous chapters, is the work of the demons and the devil trying to trip us up. Now we're going to discuss that. And in particular, he wants to start by looking at the way in which the devil changes his attack plan, attack strategy based on different people's place in the spiritual life. Not so much personalities, but where they are in terms of their relationship with God. So let me begin reading the beginning of chapter 29. Know, my beloved, that the devil cares only for compassing the ruin of every one of us, but that he does not use one and the same method of warfare against us all. So the way that chapter 29 is going to look at this is to divide the different states into 5 different categories, if you will. And then each chapter after that, the next chapters 30 through 34, are going to talk about those 5 different states. So when he comes to state number 1, this is what he says, simply, some people remain in the slavery of sin with no thought of liberation. So that's the first state, and that really encompasses chapter 30. Chapter 30, the title is, How Does the Devil Confirm Sinners in Their Slavery to Sin? So these are really the people who have been completely derailed by the devil and almost have no inclination whatsoever to think about spiritual things. This is the way that chapter 30 begins. When the devil keeps a man in slavery to sin, he takes special care to darken him more and more by spiritual blindness, banishing from him every good thought which could bring him to realize the perniciousness of his life. So as I was thinking about this, an image came to my mind. I was running a Bible study at our parish, and the Bible study used to meet in the lobby of the church. We would just all sit around. There were chairs there, and we would just sit around together. It was a nice place to meet. As it happened, on one particular week, there was a dance practice, a Greek dance practice for the children preparing for the festival. A man came and brought his child or children. I don't know the family at all. They never come to church, but they really like having the kids learn Greek dance. So he brought the kids there, and then he himself, rather than leaving and coming back, just came and was sitting in the lobby playing with his phone. So as the people were coming in for the Bible study, I noticed him over there, so I went over and I said to him, hey, we're doing the Bible study now, you're welcome to sit here if you want to, but you can certainly join us. I know the dance practice, I think, was a half hour long. It was for littler kids. I said, if you need to leave halfway through, you can get up and leave, but, you may benefit some from the Bible study. And the only way I could describe his reaction was scoffing. So he looked at me and he just kind of smiled a little bit like what an outrageous suggestion. And he said, no, like that, no. And he got up and he went out into the parking lot and he waited in his car. So, in that case, we're talking about something that fits this category, about a person that just really has zero inclination to do anything spiritual in their lives. Now, in this particular guy's case, he does hang around the church every once in a while for, various kinds of events. Nothing spiritual, certainly, but various kinds of events. And I'm not going to give up on him. And God is not going to give up on him. God is going to keep telling me to, invite him to church, to talk to him about his spiritual life, and so on. So I won't say these people are without hope, but they are without any thought of spiritual matters at all. And it's difficult to get them to be, to at least consider the idea. It may happen at some point, and I would be glad to have that happen. It may happen at some point. So I'm never going to say that he doesn't have any hope, but I am going to say that certainly it is going to be a bit of an uphill battle. Okay, the second state that chapter 29 talks about is, again, simply, others, although thinking of this liberation and desiring it, do nothing to achieve it. Now, that sentence is going to refer us to chapter 31. Chapter 31 is a very long and complicated chapter, but I want to look at it today, and then next week we'll go on to the other states. But chapter 31, the title is this: How the Enemy Keeps in His Nets Those Who Have Realized Their Perilous Position and Wish to be free of it, but make no move, and the reason why our good intentions are so often not fulfilled. So we're going to talk about those people who do have an inclination to explore the spiritual life, who do have a sense in themselves that they need God, but they don't actually do anything about it. So to begin, chapter 31. Actually, I'm going to read quite a bit of the beginning of chapter 31 because it is a great chapter. Those who have realized how dangerous and evil is the life they lead, The devil succeeds in keeping in his power, mainly by the following simple but all-powerful suggestion: later, later, tomorrow, tomorrow. And the poor sinner, deluded by the appearance of good intention accompanying this suggestion, decides, indeed, tomorrow. Today I shall finish what I have to do, and then, free of all care, will put myself in the hands of divine grace and will follow unswervingly the path of spiritual life. Today I shall do this and that. Tomorrow I shall repent. This is the net of the devil, my brother, with which he catches a great many and holds the whole world in his hands. Wow. So the devil needs to work, just as hard as I'm working on the guy who brought his kids to dance practice, the devil's working on these people in this category. And by that I mean the devil needs to keep that feeling that they have, that they want to grow in their spiritual life, that they want to know about God and experience God. He wants to keep that feeling pushed off and at bay, you might want to say. This chapter looks at 3 different ways that the devil does that. The 3 different ways that the devil is successful in pushing off the intention to seek after God. And I want to look at those 3 reasons. The first of these reasons is that our own resolutions are not based on distrust of ourselves and a firm trust in God. Therefore, we are not devoid of high opinion of ourselves, the inevitable consequence of which is always withdraw from us of the blessed divine help and our consequent inevitable downfall. This is pride. That's all that is. So the person who says, I really want to be close to God, I want to know more about God, but doesn't actually do anything, usually is operating from a position of pride. We see this for a while. I worked in an alcohol and drug rehabilitation center, so you'll sometimes hear me quoting from AA sayings and the 12 steps and so on and so forth. The center where I worked was heavily into that. When I was there, very often those who had come to the rehab would say that they would have their constant refrain was, I can quit anytime I want. I can quit. I just don't want to. You see, that's all focused on the self. And the person who has that idea, I can do this, I'm strong. The person that has that idea is going to relapse, is going to be back. The resident that comes in, sometimes court appointed, and they come to the rehab and they have that attitude that, yes, I do want to change and I know I can do it. That kind of strength, they usually end up leaving and then later on coming back. If they don't actually go to jail. So this is something that happens in the spiritual life as well. People say, I have a close relationship with God. I know about God. I own a Bible. I belong to a church, at least sort of, and so on. I can do this. I have the power to do that. And that's the sure way that the devil keeps people away from God. This is the second one. The second reason is that in making such resolutions, we mostly have in view the beauty and radiance of virtue, which attract our will, however weak and impotent it may be. And so naturally, the difficult side of virtue escapes our attention. So this is a whole different way that the devil tricks people, is to, when you're looking at making a resolution to do better, make a resolution to go to church, make a resolution to pray, to read the scriptures, to fast, whatever it is, to go to confession. You see, when you make that resolution, it feels good. It feels good. It's like New Year's resolutions. People make, this is my year to finally get my weight under control. This is my year to learn a new language or something like that. I'm going to do this. And boy, it feels good. The problem is, January 2nd is eventually going to come along, and January 3rd and 4th, and that's when, this doesn't feel good. This is hard. I have to work at this in order to fulfill the resolution that I've made. And people don't want to do that. They want to experience the good feelings, but they don't want to experience the hard work of, fulfilling those resolutions. This is the third one. We'll close with this one. The third reason is that if the good of awakening from sinful sleep is not translated into practice, such awakenings do not easily come again, and even if they do come, their effect on the will is less strong than the first time. So this is a different way that the devil keeps us away from God, by saying to us that we can go ahead and awaken from sinful sleep if we want to, but then later on we put it off. We decide not to. And then the next time that happens, it's a little bit easier to again put it off. And the next time it's a little easier and a little easier. And, I remember speaking with a young man one time who doesn't go to church. And he actually does now. This really, I think he overcame this kind of thing. But I would see him on occasion, and he would always have an excuse for why he was not at church the Sunday before. He was traveling. He didn't feel good. The weather was too good. The weather was too bad. His car sounded funny. He was hungry and he wanted to eat something. Or, it went every time. And finally, I just had to say to him, you know what? You should just simply say, I don't want to go. And he said, no, I can't say that, Father, because it's not true. I do want to go. And I said, yeah, but every time you make an excuse, and it's easier and easier and easier to continue to do that. So this second state, as chapter 29 says, this second state is the kicking the can down the road state. I can wait, I can wait, I can wait. And pretty soon, the person that does that finds that their whole life has gone by and he or she has missed out I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to people as they are actively preparing to die in a hospital or in a hospice, and have them say to me, I always planned to become more of a spiritual person. I always wanted to do that. I always thought that would be a good idea. But now here I am, my life is over, and I never did that. And they always say that with regret. Well, this is some intense stuff, of course. It always is when we're talking about the work of the devil in our lives. As the author said, the devil's only purpose is to drag us down. It's the only way he can enact revenge on God is by destroying the spiritual lives of human beings. And so this is indeed an unseen warfare that we are in, and it is a very difficult thing to talk about and to think about. Next week, we're going to look at least the third state. The chapter for the third state, which is chapter 32, is another long and beautiful and very intense and deep chapter, and it may turn out that one whole program of the Inner Way could be devoted to that chapter. I hope that you'll be able to join us next week, and until then, God bless you, and I'll see you in church.